Hi, it's Danny Krueger, IO Energy, and we are a proud affiliate member of the NFDA. We've been member for, I think it's 4 years running now. And my company, IO Energy, does energy efficiency contracting. And we thought that might be an interesting article to discuss today. And we'd like to launch kind of a series of articles of topics that we think would be of interest to NFDA members. The topic I want to go over today is energy efficiency as an investment. And like I say, I think it's maybe something that's obvious to many, but the actual numbers are really compelling. And once you get familiar with the numbers, we think that you can really see the merit of energy efficiency as a use of investment capital. So let me quickly share my screen here and go through just a couple slides that I think are relevant to energy efficiency as a use of investment capital. Okay, so one of the things I want to reference is the Environmental Defense Fund put together a couple charts that I think I'm gonna steal here. This is just a hypothetical for our discussion, but this is a real project. This was a project in Texas, and you can see on the left here, this project was an energy efficiency upgrade, and I'll talk about ECMs, or energy conservation measures. What ECMs were deployed in this project versus others. And an energy conservation measure is kind of the jargon we use internally in energy efficiency contracting for what flavor of efficiency are you shopping for. The lowest hanging fruit typically is in lighting. Moving from old technology, fluorescent, to LED is really an objective thing that you can measure, you can model, and you can really cost effectively get this energy conservation measure installed. So in this case, this was a lighting and controls project. Controls meaning adding occupancy and sensing to the light system so it can optimize further what the behavior of that light fixture is. Not a small project. It's $622,000. In this case, the utility came in and said, we really like this. We want to reduce the connected load burden that we have. And that's in lieu of basically making new power plants. It's just not cost effective to make a new power plant. We're going to forego that, and we're going to spend money to encourage our clients to reduce their demand. And as such, we can manage the increasing requirements for energy over time. So this net project cost to the client, $465,600 is the burden, this investment, if you will, that is now set into motion. So what do you get for that investment? Well, you get an annual energy savings of $208,000, and that just comes right off the energy bill. Lighting is really objective. You can model what the savings is going to be. It's just watts. It's just the hours that you burn the lights. It's just your cost per kilowatt hour. These inputs are really predictable. So the model says, okay, it's going to be $208,000 energy savings for a $465,000 initial investment. The annual energy savings per square foot is almost $1. It's 86 cents per square foot. And then you'll recover that investment in 2.4 years. I mean, that's really compelling. That is a massive return on investment. And what risk did you have to embrace? What risk did you take on in getting this investment return? I mean, is it going to be that the occupants hate the new lights, or is it going to be that the returns don't materialize? We're putting $465,000 hard-earned dollars at risk. What is the risk? Well, we would argue that the risk is really, really low. The LED is more efficacious in terms of it's just way more efficient lighting. It's a higher quality light, and the only risk would be as if you don't burn the lights. It doesn't matter if there's a recession or it's a boom time. For the most part, buildings will continue to be occupied as they have in the past. And we we would say that even in the most calamitous pandemic, where we've got a permanent shift in how buildings are being used, the lights are really going to be burned pretty consistently. We'll see if this return to work happens as predicted, but fair to say you're going to be using lights into the foreseeable future. So this is a compelling, relatively low risk use of investment capital. But let's talk about what happens to property value. So rent per square foot, in this case, $23 per square foot. After these measures were deployed, we spend this money. Can you raise the rent? Probably not. So it's not going to affect your income side of the house. And there's a deep dive we can do around Energy Star ratings and how maybe it doesn't allow you to charge more in rent, but it certainly insulates you from competition when it comes time for lease renewal in government buildings. So an Energy Star rating can protect you from competition, there's a rent implication there. But for our argument, we're going to say no, rent's flat, $23 a square foot. Now the operating expense per square foot does improve. So we've been talking about energy efficiency. You went from $11 per square foot down to $10.14 per square foot. That's a big reduction. So your net operating income accordingly has a lift. You go to $12.86 NOI from $12. What is that NOI on an annual basis? Well, this entity, 2.9 million to 3.1 million NOI, and that return on equity now is over 9%, whereas it was about 8.5%. So this is pretty compelling from when you look at the cap rate implication. For a less than $500,000 investment in CapEx, we get a $3 million according value growth on this $33.5 million property. That's massive. It's a 7.2% valuation enhancement for basically putting $465,000 at risk. And oh, by the way, there's not much risk. So that's one example. Here's one maybe on a smaller scale. This is a project that the investment was only $136,659. Those projections for energy savings is around $9,000 here. There are some really cost-effective things we can do with retro commissioning, kind of reprogramming your programmable thermostats. So pretty cheap to just reset them the way they're supposed to be and kind of lock them down there. So there's some almost free savings you get there. Lighting on the interior and lighting on the exterior, again, really modest expense. So what we're looking at is an annual energy savings of, call it $37,000 a year for an investment of $137,000. That's a payback of under 4 years, like 3.2 years. And, it's pretty easy to get your head around that investment. But the bigger story that I want to embrace here, look at the ROI when you look at the increase in value to the building. So with a 7% cap rate, we've got a $500,000 increase in this building, a 443% return on investment, pretty risk-free. So it's pretty compelling. This is a good business to be in. Okay, again, referring to some charts that I think are pretty interesting. These are the ECMs, the energy conservation measures. The lowest hanging fruit is typically lighting and sensing around the lights. So you've got efficient lighting moving from old fluorescent tech that you're paying a lot of money to be replacing ballasts and tubes. And by putting in a new lighting system, not only do you get that lift on NOI, but you also get a maintenance savings because you've got new warranted lighting. So for 5 years, you're basically out of the maintenance business. And then into perpetuity, it's much more reliable than fluorescent LEDs are. So you've got efficient lighting, adding occupancy sensing, and then dimming is a capacity that just kind of comes with LED. You have the capacity to dim the lights based upon occupancy, based upon sunlight detection. So if you have a skylight or windows nearby, they'll automatically dim to give an appropriate level of light for the occupant and just further saving energy. So, this blue, red, yellow is a huge chunk of low-hanging fruit that it's just, in our opinion, it's absurd not to be pursuing these types of upgrades because they're just it's easy to do. The green, blue, gold, and purple, these are a little bit harder to do and harder to model, so they typically come later in an odyssey for energy efficiency investing, but they're great returns. Those pertain to HVAC systems. So Energy Star, coming back to that, Energy Star says that your single largest operating expense in commercial office buildings is energy use. It's a third of the operating budget, and you can attack it by going after supply, reducing how much you pay, and by going after demand and reducing the number of units that you can consume. And again, we would argue that your lighting system is that lowest, easiest hanging fruit, where you can improve occupant comfort, you can improve the maintenance profile, and you can just gut the electrical consumption for your enterprise by going after lighting. Energy purchasing, it really pays to find a partner that is a specialist, where you can get into power purchase agreements at a portfolio level and essentially buy cheaper than you would at the rack rate that the utility is offering. This typically is just signing up for sometimes it's a shared savings model where there's a broker basically that's helping you buy energy in deregulated markets or gas. The other side of it that folks just either aren't aware of or they just frequently haven't done is this energy efficiency and that low-hanging fruit being the lighting. And so the best practice there is harness the daylight by putting in dimming sensors and dimming LED systems. The other thing is just measure what you want to manage. Get an energy audit. There are companies like ours that are happy to do those for free in order to help you build the business case for how compelling this investment actually is. And do it on a large scale if possible, so you can stack rank the best projects and have those projects help you pay for the ones that aren't as compelling. And so that at the portfolio level, you have this massive upgrade with a blended return that is well above a hurdle, but you don't leave your projects that have less compelling ROI behind. You can do the entire portfolio at once if you look at it holistically. Well, okay, that's really what I wanted to cover today. That's our version of what a smart building really looks like. Just by way of a teaser, we want to continue to talk about energy efficiency as an investment, but we also want to share in future executions of this video log, what is return to work and pandemic safety look like? What are the building safety elements that you maybe are embracing or could embrace, and how can that be packaged in with an efficiency project to make that a positive return on investment and improve on the cap value? Maybe we'll do a tech dive, look into IoT sensors and the implications of harvesting big data, not just for energy efficiency, but around building analytics and occupancy analytics. Incentives are a big topic. We love talking about that. And then finally, maybe a case study or two. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this content. As an NFDA member, we're eager to share our expertise, and we're looking forward to bringing you more content in the future. So thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you online.